I like Scoot. I really like Scoot. But I've been Brandon Miller since like
Brandon Miller.
January. I know in January I was like I would take Brandon Miller number two, and ooh, I took a lot of heat for that. It was like 48 straight hours of people calling me all type of idiots and giving me all type of statistical and deep dives of analytics. And I just think that Miller has the positional size. He's versatile. Even though he had like a historically bad NCAA tournament, he still shot 38% from three. But before that, he was at 40% from three on 7 attempts per game. Think that at Alabama, he did shoot a lot of threes. Didn't really get a chance to show off what I thought was like his bread and butter, which was scoring in the mid range and out of the mid post, because that just was frowned upon in Alabama's offense. And another a stat that I saw was that he shot like 38% from three, but very few corner threes.
Mm.
Like I want to say like maybe 90% of his threes came from above the break. So
Mm.
I think the numbers could be even higher if he was like in an NBA system where he got corner threes, where he was playing off someone that could find him. Scoot is good. The thing about Scoot, and I don't want it to sound like I don't know. It's almost like if you like one, then you're supposed to be anti the other in a sense. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like they created like this divide.
Yeah.
But here's my thing about Scoot that I feel like has gone unnoticed. He had a really difficult second half of the G League season,
Mm.
but it wasn't as easily accessible as watching Brandon Miller struggle in the NCAA tournament. So I think a lot of people, the only Ignite game they watched was the Wembayama game.
Yeah.
And if your last impression of him was him scoring 30 something points or how well he played that game, then I could see why you're just like, why is there even a competition? But in the second half of the season, he struggled. I think he really took his foot off the gas. I tried to watch him play 5 times this year, and I only saw one game and like 10 minutes of, I don't even know it was 10 minutes. It was like 5 minutes
Mm.
of the second showcase game.
Mm.
Every other game I saw, I tried to watch him play. He was injured, didn't play. And I just, like, for me, as a guy that wants to see guys go out and compete, and I get it, he had nothing to lose. But I think for the guys that played in the G League and for the Ignite, like, what were you playing for? At least I feel like in college basketball, or at least in Vic's situation, you're playing for something. You're playing in this hostile environment and you can't just shut it down. So here's my question to you guys. If Brandon Miller shut it down during the season, what would we say about him?
Oh man, he'd be
Yeah.
getting torn apart for shutting it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't happen with Scoot.
Interesting.
So
So
yeah, so I mean, they were talking about Scoot shutting it down in December from the nasal fracture, and he did come back and
mm,
play a few games after that. He had some ankle injuries, which nobody has ever said that they're serious, but he literally shut it down. And I don't think any college player would have been able to do that. Like Nick Smith
Mm.
didn't shut it down, and now his draft stock is falling because people can't see what they can't unsee what they saw out of him. So it's just I just kind of look at things a little different than most.
okay, and so then with him not playing, then is it just that you haven't seen him perform enough to justify taking him at two, or is it just are you questioning his motor and his dedication?
No,
Or
I don't question that. I just it was just coming from like the media standpoint of it. Like if Brandon Miller
Mhm.
shut it down, that he would totally not be in the conversation to go number two.
Mm.
But I
Mhm.
think that could be a reason why there is a conversation that Brandon Miller is number two. Now,
Gotcha.
maybe if Scoot plays the entire G League season and he goes all the way to the end, maybe it's not even a debate.
Okay. And so with like so even with his play in the second half, for the little that you did see of him, is there what would be some of like the red flags, I guess, that you say, I don't know about Scoot, I'm going Brandon Miller in this case.
Well, one, Scoot's shooting to me really didn't improve, especially as a three-point shooter. He started off the season, he was I mean, he was phenomenal. I think he had like 25 points in like 5 of his first 6 games. But the shooting is still a little bit concerning, not a major concern, because I think that if you compare him to all the other great athlete guards, whether it's Westbrook to Ja Morant to Derrick Rose, maybe Steve Francis, all those guys. I think that he is better, or if not equal, as a shooter to all of those guys at the same stage. And from everything I've heard, the work ethic is great. So I mean, he'll be fine. Now he does have big hands. Like he does have really big hands, and sometimes guys that have really big hands, outside of Michael Jordan, of course, and maybe like Chris Webber, kind of struggle with shooting a little bit. Kawhi Leonard is another example. But there have been times where guys just have really big hands. It kind of messes with their touch a little bit. And sometimes I kind of saw that with Scoot, like finishing around the rim. I would think that he'd be a great finisher around the rim, and he wasn't a really good finisher around like non-dunk finishes. So the concern would be the shooting, and the concern would also be the fit. And when I say fit, I thought he was like the biggest loser the way the lottery results turned out, because
Mhm.
outside of San Antonio, I don't know what other team that gave him like the clear cut keys to the franchise. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a trade that could happen where he could end up being that guy. But like in Charlotte, if he has to play with LaMelo, I don't know how they're going to coexist. I don't know how he coexists in Portland with Dame and Ant and all that. So I think like if you take the ball out of his hands, then you kind of, I mean, you don't maximize his strength. So I think for Brandon Miller, I think he fits alongside any player easily. You can put him in any situation and he can fit, and he offers versatility where you can probably play him at the four and some small lineups to close the game, the three, maybe the two and some jumbo lineups. And so that's kind of my reason why I give Brandon the edge.